Welcome to another edition of Recovery Today. My name is John Winslow. I'm your host. I am a person in long-term recovery, which for me means that I haven't had a drink or a drug in over 41 years. And I say that to reinforce the importance that people know that people do successfully recover from addiction. I also am with the National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse, the Maryland chapter, and on the board of directors of the Recovery Resource Center. And we talk about all things related to recovery from addiction on our show. And my guest today is Tasha Jamison, like the whiskey. And I would like to welcome you to our show, Tasha.
Thank you, John.
And Tasha is going to tell us about the C.O.A.T program. It's an acronym, and she is going to just jump right in there and explain what C.O.A.T stands for and tell us about how the program, what it is and how it first got started.
Okay, the C.O.A.T team, C.O.A.T standing for Community Outreach Addictions Team, was formed in June of last year, 2016. As many people know, there is a heroin epidemic in the community, and for those that don't know, hopefully they're watching today to find out. And it was recognized that we were losing too many people. One person dying from an overdose is too many. So our health officer, Lori Brewster, and the state's attorney at the time, Matt Mazzarello, created this concept and idea and took it in front of our county council and received the funding to start the C.O.A.T team.
So I served on the mayor's task force and kept hearing about this C.O.A.T team and what it was doing and the impact that it was having on our community to address this opioid addiction. Now we know that there are nationally there are some innovative programs that have been developed to address this opioid epidemic and an addiction epidemic, but I kept hearing about the C.O.A.T program and what was happening specifically on the Eastern Shore in Salisbury. So again, what's the concept of the C.O.A.T program?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the city of Salisbury also provided funding and assistance to start the program as well. The idea, the concept of the program is having peers, individuals with lived experience, go into the community and respond directly to individuals experiencing an overdose. The program has become so much more than that since the beginning. Our partnerships have become amazing in the community, and we've been able to reach out and help so many more people than what the original concept was designed for. But peers helping peers through recovery is not a new concept. So when that was created,
like with Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous,
that's
with
been
one
around
person
for
helping another
70,
person.
even longer than that. So it's not a new concept to have a peer helping another peer, but there are some unique properties to this particular program, and the fact that we were able to implement it and have it available, to the community 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It originally started with the idea of the peers having immediate contact with individuals who've overdosed through law enforcement or a local hospital. We have a partnership with PRMC as well as with the Sheriff's Department. And if there's an overdose in the community and we get a phone call from one of those two agencies to respond and meet the individual. Usually it's in the hospital.
So if a peer on the C.O.A.T team was contacted, let's say through the hospital, through the emergency room, somebody coming in for an overdose, the hospital would contact a member of the C.O.A.T team.
Yes.
They would then drive out to the hospital and meet with this person?
Yes. They would respond directly to the hospital and meet with the individual and start the conversation in hopes that helping them bridge those gaps to recovery services.
Now, in the emergency room, they would have medical professionals there that could talk to this person. So the value of a peer being there different in...
Exactly. And I believe in the beginning, the hospital was a little bit skeptical about what this program could provide to them. And now they call us for everything. They see the value that the peers can make a connection that their social workers or their nurses just can't make.
The social workers, the nurses, the doctors have these some very solid credentials, but the credentials that the peers bring is their lived experience. Yes, they have been down this path before.
Exactly. We have doctors that will go in and meet with an individual, and they will tell the nurse, call the C.O.A.T team. The response has become to so much more than just opioid overdose. We get calls for alcohol withdrawals. We get calls for crack cocaine, individuals that are coming in for withdrawal symptoms, individuals that are coming in for abscesses related to their use. The C.O.A.T team gets those calls 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to respond and try to engage an individual in a conversation and just be there and let them know that recovery is possible.
I had heard from the state's attorney's office recently that there's now a resurgence in crack cocaine, and so as you say, it's not just the opioids now; it's all kinds of addictive medications or addictive drugs that the C.O.A.T team is responding to.
Exactly. They'll respond to any call that the hospital makes to them. Day or night. So.
That is fabulous. Now, you've mentioned the hospital, you've mentioned the sheriff's office. Are there other partners that are part of this?
There's probably a list so long I couldn't name them all. I mentioned the sheriff's department because I believe one of the most unique parts of this program is that our peers do what we have termed deputy ride-alongs on a weekly basis. They go with a sheriff's deputy who is off-duty, plain clothes. They do sometimes arrive in a police vehicle. The officers do have full body gear for protection, but they go to areas, to houses of individuals that they have information that may have overdosed and maybe didn't make it to the hospital or refused treatment services. They use police intelligence information, and they go into the community with a police officer and knock on doors and offer assistance in an individual's home.
So this is very different from the way it used to be, that they're not looking for an opportunity to break down doors and start slapping handcuffs on people. It's an opportunity to offer assistance, offer treatment.
We have selected a few C.I.T trained sheriff's deputies, C.I.T meaning crisis intervention team. They have additional training in the community and how to more appropriately respond to individuals that are suffering from mental illness, substance abuse, developmental disabilities. So those are the deputies that we have selected that are a part of the team. And it's become an awesome partnership. The peers, I believe, speak on their behalf, and they've said this to me. That's their favorite part of the job, is to sit in the front of a police car and build a relationship with officers. The officers have learned so much that they didn't have the opportunity. They don't typically sit and talk to individuals in active addictions or in recovery. They may talk to individuals in active addiction, but they don't get the chance so often to talk to an individual in recovery to find out the stories.
So it gives them a new perspective on understanding addiction and the value of responding in a atypical way.
It's also given, some of the deputies now will give out the C.O.A.T information when they respond to an area and talk to individuals, or they'll say, I'm coming back to your house tomorrow and I'm bringing somebody with me.
Okay. Now, when you say and talk to individuals, is this exclusively with somebody that may have an addiction problem, or might this be a friend or a family member? Or, I mean, is it only targeting those with an addiction?
Exactly. The C.O.A.T team will talk to anybody. So a lot of times with the deputy ride-alongs, when we go to the house that's been identified, the individual we're looking for isn't home, but a family member is home. The C.O.A.T team will give them information about what they can provide, resources. We also have resource sheets for family support groups that if an individual is interested in, And we get a lot of, the phone number is available to anyone. Anyone can call the C.O.A.T team 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we do have family members that call and say, I need help for a loved one. And we provide them, the family member, as much resource information as we can, but we also encourage them to have the individual contact us themselves so that we can start that relationship building in that process to help them. Every person's different. A family member may want a certain type of treatment for their son or daughter or loved one, but if that individual isn't willing to do that treatment, the C.O.A.T team's going to help them with whatever they're willing to do to make sure that they can start that process.
That is fabulous, and I think this is a great time to mention for those viewers that are watching that we are going to be posting the phone number for the C.O.A.T team and information about how to access services or help through the C.O.A.T team during the show, and we'll have information in regard to Tasha after the show. Again, this is, when I speak of the show, you're watching Recovery Today. My name's John Winslow, and this is PAC 14. So let me ask you, Tasha, what kind of challenges, you've been up and running for over a year now, we're in the area of a year, what kind of challenges have you run into with this outreach?
Challenges are always typically the same in this area, is the lack of resources. If you have an individual who's ready right now, willing to do what they need to do to start their journey, sometimes the resources aren't ready for them.
Now, what kind of resources are you referring to?
If they're interested in inpatient and they want it, you know, if you meet with somebody at 7 o'clock on Friday night and they want to go inpatient, they're not going on a Friday at 7 o'clock at night.
I understand that Maryland is now committed to developing crisis programs that are going to have 24/7 access. We're not quite there yet. There's one that's starting up in Baltimore, but we're hopeful that we can get something along those lines on the Eastern Shore so that when the need is there, that we can immediately hook them up to access to treatment services.
And I will say, you know, in doing this for quite some time and working with individuals in active addiction, it's gotten a whole lot better. Hudson Center, resources, services in this area have become very open and willing. An individual can get an appointment almost the same day for an intake at an outpatient facility, Monday through Friday. Hudson Center is very open to taking referrals and trying to get those individuals in as quick as possible. We've had success with individuals going across the bridge to more longer-term treatment facilities within days. Medical transportation has been a big partner in helping to get individuals where they need to be in a short period of time. So transportation can become a big issue for individuals. The C.O.A.T team does provide that resource. Unfortunately, we are limited to just being more local for that. We can't, because they are 24/7 and they do have to respond, I have a hard time having them travel, you know, outside the county limits to provide services. So,
well, in terms of local resources and services, the Recovery Resource Center, has the C.O.A.T team been able to access and find any value in using
the Recovery Resource Center was a great partner. They offered us space to have the C.O.A.T team members at the facility. Because of the times that the staff are working and the availability, Life Crisis became a little bit more workable opportunity for that, but we have been able to pick individuals up and take them to meetings, utilizing the Recovery Resource Center for that. The peers that are working sit in the meeting with the individual and can continue their own self-care right along with that. So yes, the Recovery Resource Center has been a great asset, as well as marketing some of the information and making sure people are aware. We've had individuals in common that we've assisted with any number of resources as well. So,
very glad to hear that. In terms of the peers, as you mentioned, how many peers are we talking about? What gender peers?
We currently have 3 C.O.A.T team members, 1 male, 2 female. It's nice to have a mix.
I would think that in some circumstances it is, for instance, a female that may have some very legitimate issues and concerns, trust issues with males, to have a female that they can
Exactly.
speak to
Exactly.
would be invaluable.
Exactly. We do find that when a peer responds and makes that connection, the individual that they've met with does tend to want to continue that contact with that particular peer ongoing, rather than the next day someone else is working.
They've formed a relationship.
Yeah, they've already formed that relationship, and the peers do, on their time off, continue to try to assist with things as they're able. So it's been a really great program. The partnerships, I mentioned, you had mentioned what other partnerships. Life Crisis has been a great partnership. We can be accessed through Maryland 211. If an individual in Wicomico County calls 211 and has questions about addiction services, treatment, family members call 211.
That's the
they
helpline.
are yes, they are given a warm handoff directly to the C.O.A.T team. So they're
Fabulous.
directly in contact with the 24-hour service through Maryland 211 as well. So that's been a great partnership with them.
Well, I think it's been informative to me and hopefully to our viewers to hear about the C.O.A.T team and what's been happening with that, and under your supervision, under your leadership. And so in regard to that, could you share with our viewers the impact, if any, that your involvement with this new project, the C.O.A.T team, and seeing what's happening, the value of it, what impact has it had for you personally, Tasha?
It's been amazing. Anybody that knows me knows I've been doing social work type work for the past 15 plus years. And given this project in April of last year was somewhat daunting given other tasks that I already perform. And people notice when I talk about this program that I light up. That the individuals that I've encountered, that I've met through working with this program, and the lives that have been saved has just been amazing. Watching what this has done for the peers who are part of the C.O.A.T team and how their lives have changed. Individuals who thought they would never have a state of Maryland job are working with the state of Maryland and are walking around with state IDs. And we all celebrate every success like it is our own. And we're very excited when we're able to help someone who's ready to get into a facility or a treatment program, to help them get insurance. The phone calls from parents saying, "Thank you for saving my son's life or my daughter's life. We've had individuals who have lost other children to addiction and could not go through losing a second child." And the phone calls that we get. One of the counselors came to me yesterday and said that she had just completed an intake on an individual who said, "If it hadn't been for the C.O.A.T team, I wouldn't be here. I didn't know what was available until they showed up and knocked on my door in a deputy ride-along."
Wow.
And they were not aware of the resources and the services that they could get. They had refused treatment to go to the hospital during their overdose, so we could have potentially missed that individual. But with the partnerships, we were able to knock on their door and offer them hope.
Tasha, we want to make sure that our viewers know how to access help through the C.O.A.T program. So could you help us out with that?
Sure. The easiest way possible would be to contact 211. But there is a phone number, and anyone can call this phone number. We've had calls from all over, not just the state, but the United States. But the phone number is 443-783-6875. But again, Maryland 211 can also, if you're in Wicomico County, can relay that phone call directly to our C.O.A.T team.
Well, Tasha, Jamison, thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your experience and strength and hope to our viewers. Any final words?
I just want to thank you for having me here and getting the word out. I appreciate what the Recovery Resource Center does, what PAC 14 does, to make people aware of the resources in the community. So it's just great that I can be here and talk about the C.O.A.T team. Kennedy Hinman had brought up a term, hope dealer, and I really feel like that's what the C.O.A.T team is able to do for the community, is provide people with hope. So.
That's great. Tasha, thanks again for coming in and being on our show today. I want to thank all our viewers for watching PAC 14, Recovery Today. My name is John Winslow, your host. Make sure to like us on Facebook, and we will post the contact information following the show. Thank you.